Bring me the list. Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Excellent. I won't do the, let's repeat that thing. Apparently I watched a few episodes on YouTube, and apparently that was something that I did almost every meeting. I would say good morning, and I'd say good morning a second time to wake everybody up. But to wake everybody up, I'm going to attempt to read the names. This is always a challenge. So for people in the room, we have Penny, Sylvia Baptiste, Larry McKenzie, Len Thornton, Jill Roaring, Steve Smith, Eric Schneider, Mike Florio, Thomas Heldwine, Krista Glopper Banks, Kate Orr, Carol Ann Halstead, Beth Banks, Joe Budnick, Marty Johnson, Nancy Rose. I don't see Beth Banks on there.
You said it.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
It's such a quick name.
Oh, it's so small, I missed it. Okay, online, we had Margot, Phil, Russell, Jen Zapla. Looks like Mark Campos just came on. And we have a guest this week, Janice. Welcome, Janice, to our meeting.
Thank you.
So this is Toastmasters AM Lockport. Leadership development, public speaking, and just about any path you want to follow where you get up in front of people, whatever that might be, even stand-up comedy like Mr. Schneider and myself. Very funny guy. And to start us off, our funny guy, Eric Schneider, I believe he's got a special inspiration for us, which is serious, not humorous. So we'll let Eric Schneider give us our inspiration for today.
Mr. President, thank you so much. I found this on Amazon, and I think I should buy it because it costs $12.49. So next Christmas present, maybe? Anyway, there's 7 rules of life, which I found this really intriguing and very helpful. Number 1 is smile. It always works out in the end. Number 2 is be kind. You have the power to make people feel good. Number 3, don't give up. If it doesn't work the first time, find another way. Number 4, don't compare. Everyone's on a different journey. Number 5, avoid negativity. Avoid negative thoughts, situations, and people. Number 6, make peace with your past. Focus on being present and creating a better future. And number 7, take care of your body and mind. One struggles to survive without the other. Thank you, Mr. President.
If you would please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This morning is a time to give back, but to take a little as well. Take something, take the good words of an inspiration with you throughout the week, and then give the message on to others. I think that's a good way to reciprocate the good that we do in the world. Every time you're given something, give it back. I'm going to go ahead and start into different roles. I see our word master already approaching the podium, which is good. Lectern, you are correct.
The microphone.
The microphone, there you go. Go ahead and you're going to put it up? The micro part? Okay. So the word master gives us a special vocabulary word, which we try to use throughout the meeting. It is something that here in AM Lockport, we require during our table topic 1 to 2 minute speeches that you use the word in your speech. You're going to give the definition in that? Yes, please.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Our word for today is reciprocate, which is to respond to either a gesture or action by making a corresponding one. It is also defined as to move backward and forward in a straight line. Thank you.
Our next role is going to be a master. And that role today, he's going to explain what his role is and introduce himself. That is, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. As our master, I will be carefully testing my own listening skills and making note of any of those pregnant pauses, ahs, ums, ers that we tend to use. And the reason for the master is to make note of that, and then at the end of the meeting, report back to the general evaluator or the Toastmaster when they call on. So in order to make us aware of words in hopes that we are aware and that we don't use them in the future as much. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Marty Johnson. Our grammarian today. Our grammarian is Steve Smith.
Well, my job today will be to listen to all of us, including myself, for good uses, bad uses of the English language, colorful uses of the English language, and anything else that happens to catch my ear. And I will report later.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That is a very important job. Our quote master for today is he's running late. Excellent. We'll continue on. Today, the next role is jester. The jester for today is Thomas Haldwine. Don't be afraid to come out from behind the lectern and speak. So last week I gave a speech, and I tried to be very humorous in the inspirational speech last week. And one of the things that got one of the biggest laughs was below average intelligence, that by definition, half of people are below average intelligent. So I said, I'm going to use that to start writing some jokes. Well, I only came up with one good joke. All the other jokes were shot down by my test audiences, and only one was very humorous. Right now, the largest migration in the United States, as you may already know, is from California to Texas. The smart people like Elon Musk, his employees, engineers, are leaving California. Therefore, the high intelligence people are leaving, thus causing the state of California to drop. Their average intelligence is actually dropping. But the humorous part is, statistically, Texas's is dropping because they're moving to a state where the average IQ was higher than that of California, and more people are moving in, and thus dropping the IQ of both states. Yeah, that didn't go over as funny as it did in practice. Okay, so here are things you want to be below average in, all right? Things that you want to be below average. Well, why would you want to be below average? Well, your average American credit card debt is $6,200. Definitely want to be below that. $105 per week per person for groceries. Average of 9 hours a week on Netflix. Throughout your entire lifetime, you'll spend 23 weeks unemployed, actively searching for a job. Retirement age of 62. If you can retire before that, below average, great. 4 car accidents. 4 car accidents in your lifetime. I'll save the good one for last. I'll hit one other page. I have like 10 pages here.
Larry, you're ahead, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in the plus
Okay.
column.
All right, excellent. I'm hoping a lot of people are coming in. Unfortunately, average age is 28. If you're below that, youth is wasted on the young. A criminal record, 0.6 or 1 in 3. You want to be below average. You want to have 0. Your weight, 178 pounds, cholesterol, 189. Calorie intake, 3,600 calories for the average American. Be below that. Commute to work, 26 minutes. Resting heart rate, 80 beats per minute. A work week is 34.7 hours. And your average COVID weight gain across America was 15 pounds. So if you're below average, good. There's just as many people that gain more than 15 pounds and less. And for this group, unfortunately, I don't think many are going to be below this average, but the average alcohol intake for the average American, I'll make sure I say it correctly. Anyone want to guess?
What was that again?
The average alcohol intake for an American?
Gallon?
2.3 gallons. And with that, I see our Toastmaster. So let me properly introduce our Toastmaster for the day. Mr. Toastmaster, we did start into the roles. We are waiting for Dr. Stevens for Quote Master, and we are on timer now, just so you're aware. Okay, well, then you got both those people to call on? Yes, just to make him aware of where we're at. And I'm going to be turning the meeting over to the Toastmaster of the day. I have to scroll up to see what, oh, I won't give away what his theme is. Yep. Mike Florio. All right, yeah. So you probably want to call that Quote Master and timer, and you'll pick up right where you normally do.
Yep, thank you very much. Well, thanks again, Thomas, for filling in for me with the jest. I really appreciate that. Let's go to Dr. Gerald Stevens with a quote.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters. My quote for today, the theme is trading cards. I got a couple quotes for you. Because life is a game where you're all just trading cards, sadly. We play the right hand to get ahead. Author Karina Hale. I knew when my career was over in 1965, my baseball card came out with no pitcher, Bob Uecker. And my favorite of the three, we do not stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And our famous quote from Anonymous.
I think next what we have to take care of is timer. Jackie, come on up. Tell us your role. Thank you.
I am ready to time everyone for table topics. 1.5 to 2 minutes. You will see the light come on. I also have old school cards to hold up. Speeches will be within whatever parameter is announced. And the evaluators have 2 to 3 minutes. So please, when I show you that light, reciprocate by quieting down. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Thanks, Jackie. I think that's it for the job holders. And Quizmaster? Oh yeah, I can't forget my general evaluator or the Quizmaster. Quizmaster, let's go to Sylvia first. Sylvia, hi, how are you?
Today I'll be timing. I'm thinking of Jackie timing. It's not timing. I'm going to test everyone's listening skills this morning. And at the end of the program, I will have a few questions. And I already started my list. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sylvia. Thanks a lot. Let's see. We've got my general evaluator. I can't forget Mark Campos. Mark, how are you? I can see you now. This is really strange being up here, I have to admit, because I feel like I'm a telecaster on Channel 7. So I got my teleprompter up here. And It's a little different, that's for sure. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. Good to see you all. My job as general evaluator is to evaluate the job of the 3 evaluators today, as well as the job of the Toastmaster and the general tone of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. So in my research for looking for a topic this morning, oh, yeah. Oh, tech and gesture, I don't even have that on there. Who is the tech and gesture master? Phil. Phil, how are you? Go ahead, Phil.
I'm doing good. You're going to forgive me, but I had to do a lot of gestures to get you back on. Thank you so much, Mr. My job as Tech and Gesture Master is to evaluate our tech people, which is Larry and Lenny, and what a great job they do. But one suggestion before I get moving on this is we need to go to LCTV because they can broadcast our actual meetings, or we can use the tapes of them, which you are already doing. Some of us have to, I'll volunteer to call Judy Naylor, see what we can do because she's begging for it. And another example is our lady friends, Beth, Jackie, Sylvia. Adjust that mic because I was looking at this with the ladies. We want to see her. And for the other people, when you use that mic, is get it up in front of you so that you can use it, so that you can speak right into it. And that's my job, is tech and gesture master, because I watched Dr. Stevens. He read, spoke. He read, he spoke. I thought that was pretty cool. But that's my job as tech and gesture master. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. So everyone, happy National Trading Card Day. I didn't think, does anybody know that today was National Trading Card Day? Neither did I, but everyone should have, you're right. And as I was doing my research for topics, I thought, well, let's go to the internet, of course, and figure out what happens on February 24th. So I had other topics to pick from. I had World Bartender Day today. Great American Spit Out Day. Now, you know, it goes in conjunction with Chew Week. So, you know, just so you know. And then, you know, everybody has their hobbies. So that, you know, if you want to chew, that's fine. Digital Learning Day, National Dance Day, National Chili Day, and then National Toast Day, which I thought meant, okay, let's you know, toast, but it's the actual slices of toast. So on that note, we'll do a toast to, let's do a toast to, we'll do a toast to trading cards. Somewhere in an attic somewhere, there's that pristine card that mom never got her hands on that could be worth a fortune. Here you go. Here. Pikachu. That's one too. Trading cards are experiencing an unprecedented boom in popularity thanks to the pandemic. But did you know that this collectible originated in the 1800s as cigarette cards? They firmed up the cigarette pack so that, you know, you didn't squash your cigarettes. And did you know that the entire concept of collecting cards emerged from the Victorian era sentimentality and fascination with the newfangled color printing? So they were so enamored with colored printing that they made these cards. The original cards traded were advertising cards. They were packaged with cigarettes for the purpose of stiffening the packaging. In the 1860s, shortly after baseball's inception, And after, shortly after baseball's inception as professional sports, baseball cards were printed, usually being sold in packets of candy and tobacco products. Printing led to the increased population of the trade card. Companies of all kinds would insert these cards into product packaging as prizes. The designs on the cards were often not product related, but were humorous or beautiful, depending on the perceived tastes of the customer. Valued for their vibrant, colorful imagery, the public began to collect these cards, storing the collections in scrapbooks and albums. People would often trade with each other to obtain complete sets, hence the origin of their name, trading cards. These cards faded in popularity as colored printing became more common, but the concept of trading cards was born. Evolution of the sporting cards. In the 1930s, companies began to print biographies of baseball cards, and they came with the packaging with packs of bubble gum. In the 1950s, Topps Chewing Gum began inserting trading cards into their packaging. These cards depicted TV and movie stars, football players, and big game hunters. In 1952, Topps began producing the sports trading cards that we know today, which include player biography records and statistics. This original sets, which contain the rookies cards of Mickey Mantle, is amongst the most valuable of all time. Mine usually ended up tearing it up, making sure I got the gum, and if there wasn't a Bills player in my cards, that it ended up in the spokes of my bicycle. So on that, we will move forward on the meeting, and we'll go to table topics. Michael Licata, come on up and help us with table topics.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests this morning. Mike, I was really excited with this theme. I think this is a really simple and easy theme that I can expand on for table topics to kind of include collectibles, because I know that the resale market for a lot of different items and collectibles now are going through the roof, even more so the fact that my brother did research on toys that we had as kids going for a lot of money, and it's very depressing to think about that they've been thrown out in the last 3 to 5 years. So I will invite up this morning, I know she's online, Tracy Farrell. What did you collect as a kid? What do you think still has value that you currently own? And I will invite Tracy Farrell to speak for 1.5 to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. What did I collect as a kid? Well, just like any girl, I had my collection of dolls that spread out throughout my room. I had Beanie Babies at one time, but as I grew older, one of the things that I really collected, I really enjoyed, was collecting Depression era glass. And because red is my favorite color, I had red Depression era glass. So I had vases, I had an entire set of dishes of red Depression era glass. And I still use my actual water drinking cups today, is that red Depression era glass. It's hard to find. One of my grandmother and my mother, we used to go antiquing every weekend. And when we went to visit my grandmother in Michigan for Thanksgiving weekend, we would always go antiquing on the day after Thanksgiving. So that was what I did, was search out that red Depression era glass. People don't use that anymore. Right now, it's just glass, something that you can throw in the dishwasher. So it becomes harder and harder to find. I am not aware of the theme of the day. I'm sure it's collectible or something like, or the word of the day, sure it's collectible or something like that. Right now,
Reciprocate.
what is it?
Reciprocate.
Reciprocate. So that's how I did it. My mom also loved the red depression area glass, and we would reciprocate when we found a piece. She liked other things, and she knew I liked the red depression glass. So Christmas time, birthdays, she would reciprocate and get something for me, or I would get something that she was always collecting. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Tracy. And next, I will ask our guest Janice would you be willing to speak on the topic this morning? If you want to just talk about anything collect, I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will welcome our guest Janice this morning to remember that the word is reciprocate and to speak for 1.5 to 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay. I assume you just wanted me to talk about collectibles, what I collect.
Yes.
Okay,
Anything you want to talk about?
okay, I would say anything I collect it has just happened to be flamingos. For my 40th birthday, my husband surprised me by having 40 flamingos in our yard. So ever since that time, I get a lot of flamingo items. And we have been able to reciprocate by having flamingos on other people's yards. For our Relay for Life for the American Cancer Society, we made a huge wooden flamingo that we put in people's yards asking for donations. Every time we see something flamingo, everybody goes, "Oh, I think of Janice." And that is just so I actually did my icebreaker speech on flamingos and things that we can learn from flamingos, such as being kept balanced because a flamingo can stand on one foot. I would say that is the closest thing that I collect is flamingos, not by my choice, but by my family's choice. Back to you, Topic Master.
Thank you, Janice. And finally, I will call up Joe Budnack. He's graciously in the audience this morning. Joe, what do you collect as a kid? What do you still collect? Let's give us your collecting experience, whether it's with trading cards or other things. Joe Budnack.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Well, like every kid, I collected bubblegum cards, and I think I collected the entire collection of Close Encounters of the Third Kind cards. And I think I probably have every single solitary one, and I collected every one. And I remember when that movie came out, it wasn't quite the hype that Star Wars was, but it still was quite a hype, and I was all excited to see it. And I went with my neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Fox, and their 3 daughters, Bridget, Leanne, and Stacy. Well, my mother, before I went to see that movie, talked to some coworker she had, and her husband and a couple friends wanted to see that movie, and they said the movie stunk. They said it was stupid. And my mother said, well, I don't want to rain on Joe's parade. He's really happy excited to see that movie. Well, he's going to hate it. Okay, maybe these people just aren't science fiction fans. So we went to see the movie, and I will say, to reciprocate, it was adequate. I thought the visual effects in that film were something to behold. They were stunning. But as far as plot, storyline, and dialogue, yeah, it could have been better. Well, Leanne, of course, my best friend Bridget's sister, shared the opinion of my mom's coworker. That movie was so stupid. I can't believe we sat here for 2.5 hours, wasting our time with that movie. I'm thinking, Leanne, if you didn't like the movie, that's your opinion, but you don't need to keep harping on the issue all night long. Her parents should have said something because she was getting to be a pain in the neck after a while, and I was ready to smack her. But I learned to just ignore her. It's like she's entitled to her opinion, but it's like you say it once and once is more than enough. Nowadays, I collect wolves. I absolutely love wolves. I think they're beautiful animals. I actually did, as some of you might recall, when I was Toastmaster, choose that as a theme for the day. And I think they're beautiful animals, and that is what I collect nowadays. So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. Table Topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And I will call up Beth this morning. How did the word do for table?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. All of our contestants use the word correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And I will pass it over to Jackie with our timer report.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Everyone came in within the time frame. Tracy at 2:08, Janice, our guest, at 1:34, and Joe at 1:49.
Thank you, Jackie. And now I will call up our Toastmaster this morning, Mike Florio, to continue the meeting.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted to share maybe a few of my own cards. I thought that my wife and I, we went to the Super Bowl in 1992 and they gave away cards. And I thought, I put these away in a safe, thought they might be really valuable. 1992, I mean, we're going back a few years here, and it was the Super Bowl, but they printed so many of these in 1992 that I think there might be a negative value to them. So I mean, they're worth about $15, but it's pretty interesting. This is the Bills against the Washington Redskins, which we all know that they lost 4. This was the 3rd one we lost, but I got to go to a Super Bowl, and this is also the ticket from that Super Bowl, which I think you'll find interesting. I'll pass it around. Is the price of this ticket. And, you talk about inflation now being transitory.
I didn't see you there. Where were you sitting?
I was up in the nosebleeds, okay? We're talking, my wife still remembers how far we had to walk up, in order to see this thing. But anyway, I'll pass this around. Be careful with this one. Look at it, it's yellow, 20 years old. This was clear before. And actually, the ticket now is worth more than the ticket price. So if you want to have a look at it and look through these. Now, does anyone know, and I'm sorry that the people that are out in, on the screen here, they wouldn't know, but does anybody know who is on the agenda? The baseball player.
Oh, that's Homer. Oh, the Honus Wagner. Honus Wagner.
Honus Wagner. And Honus actually happens to be the most expensive card. 6.6 million, that little piece of paper is worth of Honus Wagner, which really blew me away. I thought it would be somebody like maybe Thomas Brady or someone, but it's Honus Wagner. And Honus Wagner, I didn't know who he was until I started doing a little research on this. This guy was a stud, okay? I mean, he played for 15 years and batted over 300 every single year. I mean, that's just unbelievable. You do that for 2 or 3 years right now, and you're going in the Hall of Fame. So he was right there, right at the beginning. Also, some of the other ones that I thought were interesting. Of course, number 2 is Mickey Mantle. His card right now just traded for, oh gosh, $6 million. After him is LeBron James, 5.2 million. And of course, the most expensive card is for football is Patrick Mahomes, which I thought was pretty surprising. He's worth 4.2 million. Babe Ruth is next at 4.2 million. And then hockey, of course, you know, all we wanted was Gilbert Perreault and Rick Martin and the French Connection back in the day, but Gretzky was the man. He was, you know, he was the man, and his card is worth 5 million. And then there's Tom Brady after that. His is only worth a measly 3.1 million. So, you know, that's all. One card, one little card. Anyway, it's becoming quite a sensation right now. With that, we'll move on to the next part of our program, and that is the speech part. And our first speaker this morning is Carol Ann Halstead, evaluated by Larry McKenzie. Larry, if you want to come up and introduce Carol Ann. You're welcome.
Today, I have the honor of evaluating Carol Ann and what an appropriate path she has taken, storytelling. She always has a wonderful story, and today she will be telling us a little bit about Homosassa, home of the manatees. If you're not familiar with it, I'm sure that you will be in a few minutes after Carol Ann is done telling us her story. It is connecting with storytelling. It's 5 to 7 minutes, Miss Timer. And I'm not sure which part of the path it is, which level, but I will be happy to evaluate you this morning. Please welcome Carol Ann Halstead, Homosassa, home of the manatees. Carol Ann Halstead.
Close here. Right. Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. On a previous speech, I told you about Weeki-Wachee, which is a state park in Florida. Today, I'd like to take you 20 miles north on Route 19 in Florida to the Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park. When you get there, there is a main entrance on Route 19, and the information about it. However, the actual place where the wildlife is back at what they call the west entrance. And from the front, you have to take a tram or a boat to get back there. However, you can drive to the parking lot at the west entrance is what we usually did to give us more time. When you enter the building back there, there is a snack bar and a gift shop. And then you proceed out the door, and the first thing you come to is a fountain with manatee statues on it. And if you stand behind that, you have a good photo op. We have many pictures of our family behind that. If you proceed to the right and go over the first bridge, on the right side, you see many alligators. And if it's a nice day, they're just laying in the sun, a few in the water. They look like they're statues. And if you walked over to them, I think they would react. On the other side is Lucifer, affectionately known as Lou. He is a hippo who has lived there since the 60s. However, in 1989, when Homosassa became an actual state park, they sent petitions to the governor because a hippo is an exotic animal. And in state parks, you want only native animals, native of the state. But he was given a special citizenship of Florida, so he could stay. He's usually in his little water area, and all you see is his big eyes peeking out. At certain times during the day, they do feed him, and he gets out of the water and is standing there so you can see him very well. And again, we have many pictures of Lou. There is an area called the splash zone, and it's not water you get splashed with if you're there at the wrong time. As you proceed along the path, there is a reptile building that has many snakes in it, and they tell you where they're usually located and which ones are poisonous. I would like to just avoid them all. And there's a bobcat, a Florida panther, a black bear. There's American eagles with a flag in their enclosure, and there's owls and a fox and a wolf. However, in the middle of all this is water and many birds. They range from the white birds like the egret and ibis crane to very colorful wood duck. And then there's like the pelicans, the spoonbills, and the flamingos, of course, as Janice knows, very beautiful birds. The one that's not too pretty is the black vulture. Then we proceed to the other side, to the manatees. And things used to be a little bit different. We liked it before. There was a fish bowl where you could go downstairs and be under the water, and you view many fish, like thousands, and the manatees would come by. And at one point they disappear, and that was when they were going to be fed. And a park ranger would get in the water with boots and give them their lettuce and carrots. And one time there was an older lady, and she looked like she might get knocked over because they were quite enthused about eating. And you can see their little noses peek up. And then they were very good there, and still are, about answering all the questions, especially by young people. And to me, a day spent at Homosassa Springs is very relaxing and enjoyable, and a little bit different than the Florida theme parks. And I would recommend, if you're in Florida, Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park is a place to go. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. Let's try and bring this back. Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Let's move on to our second speaker for today, and that's Jill Roaring. And Jill will be evaluated by Jennifer. There you are, Jennifer Zapla.
I am here, yes. Thank you, Mike. I will be evaluating Jill today. She showed up in our club a few years back, maybe several years back, and was one of our habitual guests for quite a while before becoming a member. And since she becoming a member, Jill has been diligently working her way through pathways. And right now she's giving a speech from level 3 of persuasive influence. Do you have her title, Mr. Toastmaster, or would you like? Okay, then I will share her
There
title.
we go. Blackie Roaring, one of a kind. Jill Roaring, thanks.
My time is 3 to 4 minutes. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. We as a club have been through a tremendous amount of loss the last couple of months. I have felt it tremendously. The loss of a pet can be devastating, especially when it follows another loss quickly, which mine did. It was 11 days after Mom died that Blackie died. This is a tribute to my cat, Blackie. Blackie cats started when I was very young. My mother loved black cats and she always named them Blackie. So the one I'm talking about is actually Blackie number 4. Blackie walked into my store in July of 2010. He was very hungry. He found the food dish that I had sitting on my desk for my Bibber cat, and he decided to stay. I found out later he was a stray from next door. I figured he was about 10 months old at the time. And he instantly became Blackie because he was all black. My mother, of course, liked him right away. Bibber, the other cat, didn't like him, although he was bigger and he wanted to play, and she was a little bit older at that point. She tolerated him. If imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, though, she should have loved him. Because Blackie learned to be a store cat from Bibber. He learned to love everyone and demanded attention from customers as well as those passing by out front in the sidewalk. The following January, no, actually it was 2 years later, Bibber estimated her timing wrong, and she got her leg caught in the front door. She was used to going in and out with customers. I didn't know about it, but Blackie did. He let out the most horrific wail to get my attention about Bibber being stuck. I've never heard a cat make a noise like that before, and I've never heard one since. Bibber seemed to like him after that. Blackie also loved men during his life, more than he loved me, I think. His first one in my time was Keith, who had a avowed hatred for felines before him, but did love Blackie. He would sit with Blackie on his lap. And the day that I took Blackie to get neutered, Keith was very eager to go pick him back up again, which kind of surprised me. Blackie spent about 2 years in the store. Then he went to the apartment and spent about 3 years there. There was 4 other apartments in the building, and he had everybody there trained to let him in and out, to open the door for him. He even caused a broken heart in the cat in the back apartment that had learned to love to play with him when we moved. He was a mouser extraordinaire. He was constantly bringing us presents, leaving him by the back door, of course. He loved going on walks with us. We had to watch for him at the road crossings, of course. He would sit on the swing with us, did yard sales. He was the bar cat out in the garage. My mother loved Blackie. She always looked for him whenever she came over to the house. Where's Blackie? At this point, I have no doubt that instead of Blackie waiting at the Rainbow Bridge for me, he was waiting there that my mother was waiting there for him.
Our third and final speaker today needs really no introduction. Dave Licata. Dave is evaluated by Kate. Kate, come on.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Do you have title for introduction, or I should do the full introduction? Excellent, it's me. David spoke last week as alternate, and he was willing to speak again this week, so we appreciate that very much. He will be giving us an icebreaker in a new way. Madam Timer, the time is 4 to 6 minutes. An icebreaker. But he can go over, he says. Let's see what happens. Dave Licata, an icebreaker. Dave Licata.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests, welcome. I've just found out that I'm not going to be benefit of that great courtesy that we give all icebreakers, so I want to say thank you very much. Drive careful. And I want to thank Mike Florio, because this theme. Matter of fact, thank you. If I just stick with the theme, I've got a chance time-wise. Here's my sad, oh my God, so sad tale. See, folks, I'm the oldest of 4. And when you're the oldest of 4, you don't have a big brother to tell you anything about trading cards. And you don't know they're valuable. Now, I had made friends with another little ethnic down the road on Windermere Road, and believe me, Joey Luzinski and Dave Licata on Windermere Road, Lockport's first subdivision, and the home of many prominent people. We were kind of like a little ethnic minority. So the little Paisan and the little Polak got to be great friends. But he had a big brother. So he knew he was supposed to like the Yankees. And he knew he was supposed to trade trading cards. And by the way, a trade is reciprocal. That's a reciprocal act when you trade. So it's kind of quid pro quo. So I always like to throw in a little Latin because I went to Catholic high school. So, thank you. So the deal is, I lost my father. He had heart trouble and he died when I was 2. And my mother moved us back in with her parents. And then along came Carl J. Licata, my stepfather. And they got married when I was 4. And I was 8 years old before I found out that the other kids on the street, that their dads didn't own a warehouse full of candy and trading cards. So I had this huge advantage, but still no knowledge of the inner workings. So when my buddy Joey showing off his Mickey Mantle card, I said, well, I got that. He goes, no way, you don't have Mickey Mantle. I said, I do too, and I can prove it. So I went home and got it. Poor Mickey, he didn't really make it through the washing and drying cycle. He was all wrinkled up. He was beat. How did I know that that was a special card? I didn't know, but I made up for it, ladies and gentlemen. Years later, the phone rang. American Art Collectibles. Hanging in my family room. Certified by Warner Brothers and Major League Baseball. Bugs Bunny, one of my favorite characters, is in a baseball hat, a baseball jersey, and a bat resting on his shoulder. Oh, and by the way, there's an autograph on that.
there better be for $499. There better be an autograph on that. And that autograph is indeed Mickey Mantle. So I made up for it. Mike Florio once again played in my hands again. I didn't know it. It pays to come here. Because Mike, my 2 Super Bowl tickets are framed. And I'm so glad you brought that ticket in because I can't believe it was only $150. And I believe this one's going for $3,000, the next one, or the last one just went for $3,000. So that's crazy. Now, another advantage of being part of the Licata Candy Empire is that the Topps Trading Company would send us whole sheets of baseball cards. So I'm there with my little rounded, stupid scissors, not knowing any better, going, well, this is stupid sheet, what the hell? And I went, and I'm cutting them and it's not straight and the ends are all beat up. So that would have been nice to save a few of those. And I hate to blow this, and Mikey now knows this, that I was still at Licata Brothers when my sons were born, buried in my closet, my wife and myself's closet in our bedroom, our complete set of Topps trading cards, no gum, just the cards, from the year that Michael and my other son Paul were born. And should they ever leave the house, that will be their reward. Look what I got for you fellas. Bon voyage. God love you.
Where they go, make them back?
Well, oh, no. No, when they, should they move out, my wife and I will be moving and we will not tell them where at all. So I'm glad that I could go down this path and I had to find some new paths. And I'd like to thank our one speaker, Carol Ann, for saying one is storytelling. And I'm going to go home and investigate that. And I hope I haven't done it already. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. Well, Dave, nobody knew. Nobody knew the value back then. We just collected them because it was fun.
But I was going in the dark.
We collected them because they're fun, and now trading cards today is more of a business. There are 3 kinds, they said, of 3 types of collectors. There's the flipper, the person that buys the boxes of cards, not even knowing what's in them, and decides, okay, in 2 months later, he sells it, trades it, and gets more money for the deck of cards before it's even opened. Then there's the investor, the person that buys it as an investment, holds on to it for a certain amount of years, and then decides to maybe either open it up or sell what's there. And then, of course, there's the collector, somebody that just loves to collect. Before I go any further, Jackie, how did we do on time?
We did very well. Carol Ann, 6:32, Jill at 4:03, and David Licata at 6:19. And I just want to share, as you're casting your ballots, I have an acquaintance in Lewiston who financed his purchase of a large bed and breakfast inn with his trading card collection.
Whoa.
Yeah. Thank you.
We only knew. We only knew. Now, the future of trading cards is going digital. Now you can own the memory of a shot or a pass or an interception and digitally own that. And I don't know if that's the same, Dave. What do you think?
I think when
Yeah.
you're 8, 9 years old and you have an actual card of your favorite ball player, it's like you own a piece of his soul.
It's right up there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
And that's why the Amish don't like you to take their picture.
And then, you know, your least favorite player, well, he goes to the wheel of the bicycle. For those of you that don't really know, I mean, back in the day, we used to take the cards that were of no value, and with a clothespin, you would put them on the forks of the bike, and then your bicycle would sound like a Harley after that. Now, it would only last for maybe about 15 minutes, but you'd go through a lot of cards. Anyway, I am going to pass the baton over to Mark Campos so that he can continue the meeting and then introduce the evaluators. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning once again. I would like to introduce our first evaluator, Larry McKenzie, who is evaluating Carol Ann Halstead. Larry.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. This morning, I had the pleasure of evaluating Carol Ann. Carol Ann always takes us on a journey within her speeches, and I was excited today because I have actually been to Homosassa Springs. So when she was describing her journey down Route 19, I've taken that ride, and it brought back some great memories because the person who took me there is my sister-in-law, who is no longer with us, and we always talk about our trip to Homosassa Springs. So today you brought back a wonderful memory along with your story, which was excellent. I want to thank you. Now, Carol Ann asked me to watch for a couple of things throughout her speech. One of them was she uses the word "and," she said, to continue sentences. You did quite well today. You only used it a couple of times. You did use "and" appropriately a couple of times also within your sentences, the way that you were structuring your speech for us today. Whether you notice it or not, every time that Carol Ann gives us a speech, she also has a prop, which was her sweatshirt, which shows from the manatees and from Homosassa Springs. I want to commend you on that because you were your own visual picture of where you were. One of the things that I did enjoy too is that you weren't afraid to come out from behind the lectern. We moved the lectern, you came out, and one of the great things that Len has provided us with is a monitor. You had the ability to see where you were, and you used the camera quite well so that the people on Zoom and also the people here at the meeting were able to see you. I commend you on that. That was an excellent job. On your journey, you took us through Homosassa Springs and the trip to the Manatee. You told us about when you came in and how you went and you saw the hippo, and you told us a story about the hippo. And you were very descriptive within also the alligators and how Lucifer had his own, what would you call it, dispensation. He was allowed to be part of a state.
He was naturalized.
Thanks, he was naturalized, thanks. Dave would know more about that than I. Now, you did also tell us about the splash zone. And you were, thank you very much, Jackie with her bells. You described all the animals. One of the things that I would have enjoyed a little bit more would have been to maybe tell us what a manatee is. I know what the manatee is because I've been there. Also that they are also known as the sea cow. They're a very large fish, I guess. Would it be considered? Would it be a fish? Mammal? Mammal. Thanks, Dave. Again. Jackie. Okay. He was a mammal. But the one thing about the manatee is that they're so big, but they're so cute. But the bad thing about it is that they do get caught up with boats and other things, so they are endangered. Today, Carol Ann, I want to thank you for bringing a good memory to me and to all of us through your storytelling. Great job, and continue with your stories. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Mark, you want to introduce our next evaluator? Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. And especially Jill, thank you for your speech today. So Jill's speech was a eulogy or a speech honoring her cat, Blackie. And Jill did an excellent job today, first with her storytelling. She told us all about this cat coming into her life and what it meant to her. And she shared with us all these little stories in the way that the cat had impacted those around her. And she brought together a lot of different elements. So first, I want to commend Jill for sharing a speech about a topic that's still probably a little bit fresh and raw and emotional for her. In not only her cat, the loss of her cat, but she also shared with us the ways in which this cat tied into the loss of her mother. And I think that was probably a really difficult emotional topic for her to share. And through her storytelling, I think she did a very excellent job. A couple of things that Jill could do to work on and improve her speech. One is the use of notes. Now, I think that she was probably using these notes more as a way to keep the emotions a little bit at bay, like referring to the notes, because this was a topic she was obviously very familiar with. In referring to the notes, she didn't make eye contact quite as much as she could have, particularly with the folks online. However, she did make eye contact throughout, but I think she could have done so a little bit more. And she also used the lectern and used the notes to focus her attention there instead of always focusing at her audience. One other thing that I think Jill could work on is the ending in the conclusion of her speech. I think that she had a really great one-line sentence for the conclusion of her speech. However, in that, she could have either had a couple of sentences to build up to that, or she could have just worked on the delivery of that very last sentence, because I think at the very end, it felt a little abrupt to me and I wasn't quite sure if it was over yet. So I would just say to work on that one particular element. Overall, I think that Jill did a really excellent job using humor throughout the speech to keep the story engaging and not overly sad while talking about this topic that, like I said, was most likely difficult for her to talk about. And she did really quite well with her pacing throughout the speech. Overall, I think this was a great way for her to share a little bit more about herself with us, about some of the things that are meaningful to her. And I appreciate her feeling comfortable doing that. Thank you.
Okay, he's looking for you now, so it might as well run.
Sorry, I didn't realize I introduced the first one, not the second one. I thought Mike had the third one, so sorry.
Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'll be evaluating Dave today. I'll introduce myself. I have mostly commendations. Thank you, Len. This is my first recommendation for you, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Commendations always first. So many tools in Dave's toolbox. We all know he's so skilled at entertaining us, and he was a consummate showman today and tied to the lovely theme of trading cards. I love that you use the word of the day, and even in Latin, a little quid pro quo, an exchange of a favor, etc., was a great way of connecting to reciprocate and then back to the theme. I love your stories. We love the journey that you take us on when you give us a descriptive kind of journey like you did today. It was personal, it was relevant, and it was a journey mostly chronological from when you were a kid up until recently and what you might have in your attic today. I love your story and I love your delivery. Your delivery is comfortable, it's smooth. You use the space, you use the tech, you make good eye contact, you connect with everyone in the room, and you try to connect with everyone using our tech, which I admire very much. Your gestures are smooth, and like I said, no notes. So my two recommendations would be this spacing, and what Len just did for me is exactly what he did for you, but let's copy what Carol did more, where I think it was pretty staged and then she spoke. So before we get started, move things around, get situated, decide before we get to the lectern what we want to present and how we are going to be seen by everyone. And that's so much more challenging with hybrid. I applaud you for jumping right in. I also prefer this handheld mic like you do. I know though that we could use the headset mic and it would free up our hands better. I think I guess that's a third suggestion or recommendation would be, as VPE, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about pathways a bit more. And you kind of gave us an icebreaker, but like you mentioned, there's storytelling and there's other things that, yes, we can connect with. And I would recommend anybody who's interested to attend the Zoom session on March 1st, this Tuesday night. I'm attending it too, but it's a Zoom session run by the district for all beginners on pathways. If you haven't selected a path or you're still kind of navigating early on and you're just wondering, how do I select a new path or what has changed in the last 6 months, anybody can attend this. It's this Tuesday, March 1st at 6:30. So Dave and I will be on if he has no prior engagements, and you can join us. Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, and especially Dave.
Thank you, Kate. At this point, I would like to ask Jackie, our timer, for a timer's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. This morning, Larry McKenzie came in at 3 minutes, 19 seconds, Jen Zapla at 2 minutes, 40 seconds, and Kate Orr at 2 minutes, 36 seconds. So everyone qualifies.
So there you have it, Toastmasters. Please cast your vote for Larry, Jen, or Kate. And just a reminder for those of us on Zoom, please send a private message to Room View with your vote. Since I have the floor, I'll continue with my general evaluation. So with regard to the meeting, we had a bit of a choppy start this morning. We know that. There was some good and bad in that. The good, I salute Thomas, our club president. Great job stalling and keeping things moving along until Mike could make it there in time and then grab the reins and continue the meeting. So kudos for that. Mike, obviously, I think that's the first time you've been in the new meeting room, which is a bit disorienting. So if you've never been at the hybrid meeting, having to navigate the cameras, the monitors, all that stuff. So it's a cautionary tale for any of us that haven't been to the YWCA yet, that if you have a prominent role, whether it be a speaker or Toastmaster, you probably want to get there early and just get the lay of the land. Not to pick on you, Mike. We did have a little bit of a fumbling, since we talk about Super Bowl tickets, there were some fumbles there in the whole introduction of the evaluators, but I'll own some of that as well. One thing on the meeting also, I think we should remember, and probably this would be more towards Thomas as the presiding officer, when we realized we had a guest, we should have asked Janice to introduce herself so we could learn a little bit about her, where she's from, and whether she's an experienced Toastmaster or not. Because when the meeting started, we were going a little overboard in trying to explain what the roles were and about the meeting. Janice is an experienced Toastmaster. We should have been able to determine that first and then adjust accordingly. With regard to the meeting topic itself, I personally loved it. Trading cards, I collected them as a kid. All these years later, I can still smell that glorious smell of a freshly opened pack of Topps baseball cards. So it brought back some great memories, and you had a lot of great filler material, Mike. Now, with regard to our evaluators, Larry, first and foremost, one thing I liked was how Carol asked you to focus on a specific item for her, and you addressed it in your evaluation. So kudos for that. You were so effusive in your praise of her speech that you ran out of runway at the end, and any constructive feedback was rushed. So in that regard, she was a bit cheated. So just manage time a little bit better. Jen, I want to commend you. I really liked how you pivoted from your positive feedback to your constructive feedback. And I was so very proud because I constantly beat the dead horse to never use the word but when we transition from positive to constructive, and you didn't use it. So kudos to you. I thought you had great feedback, and it was a really nice sandwich method type evaluation. Last but not least, Kate. Kate, I thought you did a terrific job today, and you demonstrated something that I think we all should remember, that yes, the evaluation is about the speaker and to provide them feedback, but the evaluation is also a speaking opportunity for you as the evaluator. And I love that you came out from behind the lectern, you were in front of the camera, you were working the crowd, looking at the camera. I thought you did an outstanding job in terms of your delivery. And I thought you had some really great constructive feedback. Again, a nice sandwich method evaluation. So good job. Again, since I have the floor, I'll make the executive decision and I'll go right into reports. First and foremost, I would like to call up our master, Marty Johnston. Marty, how did we do today?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Here is my report. Mike Florio had, I'll start with the O's, had a few O's. I had a so, Mark had a couple so's, Jackie had a couple so's, Carol Ann had 2 O's, 4 ands and 2 ums, Jill, a so and an and, David had a few so's, Larry McKenzie had a couple ands and a so, Jen had a few ands, Kate had a so and an and I'm not singling out just the general use of so and and. However, I think we're using and so instead of a transitional word such as the next, or the sentence and a period and the next, or the sentence and another example of. That would be my recommendation. Take it for what it's worth. Tracy had a couple so's. Joe Budnick had a few ands and a so. And I would also like to thank Janice, our guest, and she'll have a chance to tell us where she's from before we close the meeting. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Marty. Our grammarian this morning, Steve Smith. Steve, can you give us a report, please?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I only have a few notes this morning. Right off the bat, when Mike was giving us an introduction to his topic, he said an increased population of trading cards. I believe you meant popularity. Good, right off the bat, I got something. Now, Larry already mentioned Carol Ann's run-on sentence, so I won't dwell on that anymore. A lot of us do it. Jen used the word eulogy about Jill's speech. I thought that was very appropriate. And she used the phrase fresh and raw, and it absolutely is. So she went right to the heart of that whole matter. Of course, I'm kind of close to that situation, so that did touch me. Kate used an expression we often use, and I don't think it can be overused, about Dave's tools in his toolbox. I think that's very appropriate for what we do here. Now, I didn't happen to hear any buts or so's, but I'm not as sensitive to that as certain of our other members. And that is about my report. So back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Steve. Phil, our tech and gesture master. Phil, can you give us a report?
Mr. General Evaluator, I will give you a report on my tech and gestures. Let's make sure everything is all lined up here. But before, I have to reciprocate on these trading card things, because I know there is one card out there that nobody has, or somebody has. It's priceless. Willard Daniels, who was a member here, had a priceless collection up in his cubbyhole. And when he died, there's one that's missing. It's a Roger Maris rookie card where Roger had a mustache and a goatee. Now, if anyone has it, I know it's priceless because the artist that put the mustache and goatee on there was his good friend Larry Roberts. So that's priceless. Rookie card of Roger Maris is out there somewhere in card land. Now I have a bunch of quick things here. First thing and most importantly on gestures and tech. Protect the lectern. I am looking at an empty lectern. The Toastmaster might have to stay there. We have to work that out, especially if we're going to try and do a television program. Now, as far as the gestures are concerned, Mike, you have to work on the mic. Let's see here. Let's go down the list. Where did I start? Oh man, I got 4 pages here, but I'm going to just hit a couple of them. Some really neat ones. Leaning on the lectern. Dave did that. Then we had Larry. Good. I like it. Whoever in that tech group has it so the lectern is Toastmasters on one side, the flag on the other side, and the lectern in the middle. I think that is a cool setup for looking at it on television for a lectern, but we've got to protect that thing. All of our speakers had some different gestures. I thought they all did a good job. Carol Ann, it's mostly facial. Jill, a little hand clasping, but it was a very emotional speech. Dave, you did that good old routine, elbow on the lectern, moved around, got it in front. It was really good. Now, protecting that lectern at all costs. That's my big hang up. Tracy, you moved your head on the tabletop. Nice gestures with head. Same, Jen, I see you on here and I look at it and I say, hers were very casual and very natural with her hand gestures. That is a great asset. And let's see, Joe, hands on the lectern, and all of yours was perfect in the facial ones, but you were very steady. But one thing I found out, you extended your hand to the topic master to shake his hand properly and bring him behind the lectern. Let's see what else I've got here. Most importantly, protect that lectern at all cost. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Phil. Our quiz master this morning, Sylvia. Can you test our listening skills, please?
Again, can I tell you my trading card story? Okay. My dad grew up during the Depression. And so, you know, money was very tight at that time. He had the whole New York Yankee team, and I can't remember what year it was. And so I was texting my sisters and my brother at 7 in the morning, and then I decided, oops, they're 3 hours behind me. And that they weren't going to be very pleased, but two of them responded of the 3 and said they don't remember any cards. And I can't believe they don't remember the story. My father went into the service, came back, and my 2 aunts decided to clean my grandfather's house and toss the whole team out. And growing up during Depression, I just wish I had the year. I'll have to ask my husband. He knows. He was devastated. What year was it, Dave?
I don't know what year it was, but I hope those ants are throwing out Watch Antiques Roadshow and feel terrible.
They're all deceased. They do feel bad now. But I had to tell you the story, and I love the theme today, trading cards. I have 2 boys, so you know I have not only trading cards, I have signed baseballs, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, who else my husband collects for them. He's a big kid. So that's my story. How many people were on Zoom this morning? 7. And we have how many here today?
20.
19. Wow. 19. The invocation that Eric gave this morning, what 7 things should we do? Smile, kind, don't give up, Don't compare. Avoid negativity. Take care of our body and mind, and I can't read my writing. Make peace. Yes. What does Janice collect without, she did not really want to collect? Okay. And Mike's price of his ticket? Plus tax. Don't forget the tax. And I love hockey. So who has the 5 million card? Or I should say not who, but who's the player?
Wayne Gretzky.
Yes. And also, besides being National Trading Card Day, what is another day today? I was thinking to favor bartender myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Last but not least, our word master, Beth Banks.
Can you see my face now? Good morning, Toastmasters. Our word did okay. Thomas used it, Jackie used it, Tracy used it twice. Janice, Joe, Dave, Kate, and Phil. But there were a number of people who didn't use it. Maybe they're just not comfortable using that word or they don't know that word, but it did okay. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Beth. At this point, I would like to return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster, Mike Florio, and our club president, Thomas Heldwine. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Mark. Thomas had to take off a little early, but Eric decided that he would, oh, Jill, okay, come on up, Jill. Our VP of membership. Come on up, Jill. There you go. Come on up.
Okay. Let's see, I will do our winners first. Table topics, Janice. Congratulations, Janice. Lovely talk about flamingos. Best evaluator, Katie. Best speaker was me. I'm going to draw the ticket. The winner is 217.
Bingo.
$8, Larry.
$8.
Whoa. Be sure and fill out your tickets for the also rans. Janice, if you were still there, can you tell us about yourself? And whether you liked our meeting?
No, she's here.
Yeah. Okay, I'm a Toastmaster in Michigan, Twin City Club 1410. And I ended up I visited the Rhetorical War Club a couple times, and they had mentioned how much life is in the Lockport AM Club. So I decided I would end up getting up early to check it out. I have attended a hybrid meeting where I was in person, and so I really enjoyed the opportunity to get the perspective of being online during a hybrid meeting. I had messaged some comments to Phil, and I don't know if he got them, because I think one comment, it did change. When I was speaking, I ended up going to speaker view. I was unable to know where the timer was in the room view. So that is just something to keep in mind for those online. that you need to make sure they can see the timer. And sometimes the speaker view is on room view, even when somebody was at the lectern. So I had to go to gallery. Just some things. I think hybrid is new for everybody, and just some comments to consider. But I enjoyed the meeting. I had the role of a quiz master at the end is something I haven't seen, so that's something I may take back to my club. And back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. At least you're in the same time zone. Okay, I've got a couple announcements, and as to Steve making his comments about the Blackie thing being fresh and raw with him too. He actually held Blackie when he died. So that tells you how fresh and raw that was. And thank you, Jen, for admitting that my being tied to the lectern was because of the contents of my speech. I will honestly say that as I was practicing it, I was tearing up. So the fact that I didn't when I was up here was quite the accomplishment. We have a couple announcements. Eric has one about the school thing. So I'll let Eric come up and do that.
Since we're running short on time, I'll make this short and sweet. I spoke to Jill DeTilio about Tom Moran, and she has mentioned me that the students are thinking about doing a community project in honor of Tom. So I will get more details about that. Maybe we can help them out too, if that will be possible as well. And also this Saturday is the Irish Wake for Tom. We're all gonna meet up at Danny Sheehan's at 4 o'clock, right, Kate? So that's what I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I guess we are going to be having a vote on dues next week. Yeah.
They're looking at raising, we're proposing from the executive committee, $15 for the 6-month term. And we will vote next week because there's board due by the end of March. So I'll put it out in an email too.
Okay, Katie's gonna put the information out in an email to everybody. Came from the executive committee, which I didn't make that meeting. Larry.
Just a little tidbit. On our chat, Janice did mention that she's not too far from Notre Dame, and on a clear day, she can see Chicago. But she also grew up in Tonawanda, New York.
Whoa, welcome home, Janice. I don't believe I have any other announcements. Who's our Toastmaster next week? Jen is. Okay, Jen, do you have a theme or anything yet? I don't think she does by the looks on her face.
Oh, I hit the camera instead of the mic, but that's my bad. I don't have one yet. I'll keep you posted.
Okay, all right. With that, I guess I will close the meeting.